What's up, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Don't Keep Up With the Joneses. 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 Don't keep up with the Joneses.
What's up, beautiful people, to another episode of the Jones Family Channel. It's me, Rickey Jones Jr. with one of those let's talk about it, let's have a conversation, largely because I was scrolling on Instagram, which I really don't find myself often doing so. However, I was doing so on one of the channel's profiles or pages that I do so just to learn some things, which happens to be Earn Your Leisure, Instagram's page, which shouts out to them. They are phenomenal and just awareness, right? Letting people know about the stock market, how to invest, and the list goes on, which, as I talked about on previous vlogs, I'm about that life. However, all that to say, I came across this particular post and I was like, whoa, hold up, wait a minute. And I think more so than anything, it caught me by surprise, but then I had experience with it, which then made me want to talk about it. And so here we are. Again, I'm gonna share my 5 things pertaining to the flip side of what we can do to change the narrative. But more than anything, what I would love if we could have a dialogue, even in the comment section below. So drop your thoughts as I share mine. However, here's the post that sparked this here video, and I'll throw it up, but it says, a study has found that negative portrayals of Africa by Western media are costing. See, I'm even having trouble reading through it because I already know the thoughts that I have about it and the things that are going through my mind. But nonetheless, in it all, right, the negative portrayals of Africa by Western media are costing African economies about $4.2 billion annually. That's dollars. You know what I'm saying? That's not even converting into whatever African country is getting hurt the worst. But more than anything, it goes on to say, this biased coverage, especially during elections, focuses heavily on issues like violence and fraud, damaging investor confidence and hindering economic growth. According to the study, if media coverage were more balanced, African countries could potentially prevent losses ranging from $5 million to $495 million each year, adding up to $4.2 billion over time. Such improvements in media representation could significantly boost investments and development across the continent. What are your thoughts? And this was posted back in October the 12th. So, pretty much the beginning of this month as this video will come out. And I read it and I was like, man, this is wild, but it's true and it's sad all at the same time. And I say that because even when we were expressing and sharing the fact that we were making the move over to SA, we were getting all types of negative comments, some good, some bad. However, it was just wild to me how one could say, I'm moving to South Africa, which is a country of its own in itself. However, the whole continent of Africa was lumped into this negative mindset or this negative perspective of why would you go there, right? Crazy. And then just think about it. On the flip side, as I even shared through various vlogs and videos, when we were moving back to the States, those within South Africa, some within South Africa would ask me what's wrong with our country. And I'm thinking, whoa, it's not a negative thing that we're fighting against. However, media coverage has done such a great job in promoting, showcasing the negative side of a thing, right, of the continent, that the overall perspective is negative. And it's wild. It's crazy. Crazy, right? And I say that because one could let's just flip the script. You know what I'm saying? Why not see it from another perspective? One could say, oh man, I'm about to move to America. And somebody thought could be like, whoa, why would you do that? It's dangerous. And it's like, whoa, all of America is dangerous? No, but they're thinking from the perspective of when they visited a particular city, or they heard about a particular instance of someone in a particular city, right? Not to call nobody city out, but you know your city. And they had a negative interaction. And so one could then just blanket the whole continent because of that one interaction in a specific city. And it's like, it's not the way it is. Like a whole continent, a whole country, a whole state isn't bad because of an instance that you've had in a city. Now, I know some people that live in Atlanta, and others may say, hey, I'm thinking about moving to Atlanta. They'd be like, hold on, pump your brakes. Have you done your research? Because it's a little dangerous in Atlanta. Even for us ATLians, we feel like it's a little dangerous. You know what I'm saying? And it's a thing within the state itself. And even when I would share how it can be dangerous in America to my South African brothers and sisters, they looked at me like, wait, what? Puzzled. And I think largely because of the way the media showcases and portrays countries, spaces, and places. And, you know, at the end of the day, we had a phenomenal and extravagant and amazing, I mean, the list goes on, right, of positive words that I could say about the experience that we had while living and experiencing life in South Africa. And honestly, we want it for everybody who has the ability to visit, right, to do it, right? Don't allow the negativity to overshadow your optimism or your thoughts about what it is on the other side. I'm telling you, you will thoroughly enjoy it. Do your research. You know what I'm saying? Like anywhere you go, right? There's good and bad in spaces and places wherever people are involved. So there's that, right? But at the end of the day, I just want to talk about 5 things that we could do to reflect the positive side of what's really going on the other side. Because again, it's amazing how the whole continent is lumped into, for some, right? For some, a negative perspective. However, I could say the country like Rwanda, or I could say, Namibia, right? And you may not even know where that is. But if I was to say it's in Africa, you might frown, right? You may look like, whoa, I don't know about that. However, you could have some phenomenal experiences that you're not being able to experience because of the thoughts that are flowing through your mind. And even before I get to these 5, well, let me get into the 5, you know what I'm saying? And I just have fun with it. But the first thing I would say that we could do as a people, which I love YouTube, I love this space, I love social media for this, because it allows for people to then bring a narrative to what's really going on, right? Because media has had such a prominence and eminence, a dominant force in the thought processes of people, you know, through television, through newspapers, magazines, books, right? But now we have social media, now we have YouTube, and it allows for real people to show and to give real experiences and accounts that will allow for others to peek into what's really going on in whatever they're showcasing on their pages, platforms, you know, or posts and whatnot. But one of the first things I think we could do is to highlight the positive story and successes, because there are so many, right? Even in our small stint, our short stay in SA, we came across so many beautiful success stories, so many beautiful positive stories of people climbing out, right? As some would say in parts of the world, climbing out the mud, getting out the mud, or going from an impoverished area to a nice space and place in their life, or Americans making the move from the States to SA and living great, living grand, and enjoying their times, or people that have had a troubled past, reaching back and bringing other brothers and sisters up so that they don't have to suffer as they did when they were younger. And we attempted to showcase those brothers and sisters, those people on the podcast for the love of SA, but there were countless other conversations that were had off camera of the success stories of people and positive stories with people, just sharing with me how their life has gone and the good things that they desire to do, the beneficial things that they look to do and to be for not only their community, but for the country, which will have a ripple effect and impact the world, which is why I was even trying to, let me not get ahead of myself, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but at the end of the day, as more people, I know I did a video as I was just praying about SA. In that video, I was soliciting for other people that are living within the continent encouragement to start channels, to start posting, to start showcasing and sharing what life is like on the continent, because as we do so, as others do so, it will allow for the truth to be brought to the light little by little, bit by bit. And my desire and my forethought is that as we just type in a search on YouTube or Google of a country within the continent of Africa, I'm speaking of Africa specifically because that's what this post was about. As we type in one of the countries, their post will come up, right? Not necessarily news feeds or news posts, but people's real interaction with the day-to-day activity, showcasing what's going on. Maybe them walking about the streets as I was doing, the streets that I was living in, right? And just showing what's really going on, boots on the ground within that country. And we just continue to grow and showcase what's really going on and the beauty that's actually there that I know to be there as we have the opportunity to experience. And it leads me to point number 2 with this, to showcase the diverse experiences. There are so many things that could be done on the continent of Africa, right? Us having the experience of South Africa, when I share with people that we lived in SA for just under a year, the first thing that comes to people's mind if they have any inkling of SA is, did you do a safari? And I was like, nah, we didn't do a safari. Like we didn't go for that. You know what I'm saying? We've had safari-like experiences here in the States at Busch Gardens and things like that. And it wasn't the animals that we were there for, the animals that we were looking to chase and to come in contact with. It was the people. It was life. It was food. You know what I'm saying? Other diverse experiences that we were actually able to have that caught us by surprise, right? From the Ninja Warrior things, all the vlogs that you saw us do were real things that we did, which allowed for us to experience what life in SA, or specifically Johannesburg, was all about. And then we took a trip over to Cape Town and had experiences there that were unique to Cape Town that we couldn't experience in Johannesburg. And I'm saying that to say, as we trickle through the continent itself, I know for a fact that there will be specific and diverse experiences that you can have within the continent itself, right? Like, don't forget, Egypt is in Africa, right? Egypt is on the continent of Africa, which gives you a whole nother diverse interaction, a whole different diverse like perspective of not only life, not only civilization, but the list goes on, right? And it's amazing how like mystical Egypt has become because of the various thoughts and reasonings behind how the pyramids came about. But we're not going to dive into that. But all that to say, you can go from South Africa, the country, all the way to north, right, and find yourself in the deserts, Sahara Desert, and the list goes on. But all the way in between, there are so many different experiences that you can have within the continent that I'm sure would be a beautiful sight to see, right? From pink sands to mountains with snow and, you know, the highest, like, it's so many different things, to waterfalls, and the list goes on. But all that to say, let's start to showcase those things, right? And I think even within the diverse experiences also comes along with it, which I love, right? The cultural aspects, the cultural experiences that you will even have within the continent itself. And it's a beautiful sight to see. It's a beautiful experience to be a part of because it's not one that we get to have in the West, right? And so what's contrary or what's opposite to what we're used to is oftentimes like looked down upon first until it's understood. However, if we do more videos, if we post more content, if we showcase more things, right, about our culture, about our diversity, about our tribal, you know what I'm saying, ethnic groups, and all the things that we even talked about on the channel, I think as it's shown more, as it highlighted more, as explained more, we'll be able to further have an understanding, a perspective that we can grow and learn from that will give Africa the respect that it actually deserves. Because when you hear the stories behind the culture, the ethnic groups, the the tribes, it's a beautiful thing. And I know only from the perspective of SA, but I know as you go through the continent itself, there are practices, there are beliefs, there's customs, and there's ideas that are practiced and shared that I know that are useful and beneficial for those and us around the world. So let's get to the sharing of those things, okay? Which leads me to number three. Number three is to engage local voices. Why is this so necessary? Because it's the local voices that will speak from the heart the truths of what's really going on in the land. Of course, as immigrants, right, or Americans that moved over for the period of time that we were there, we had an perspective of the continent itself, but then as well as South Africa specifically, that we gave our lens from. We were oohing and ahhing about things that people that are local there probably like, oh man, that's the regular, like, oh yeah, we have 12 of those, like, what you so captivated about the one? I could show you plenty more, like the malls. Like that was, as an example, that was one of the things that truly captivated us. And I was reading the comments, and you probably could see in the comments people saying like, man, why is that such a big deal? Because the malls in the States fail in comparison to the malls that we experience in SA. But all that to say, when we engage local voices, it allows for the truth of what it's really like to grow up, right, in the country, grow up in the continent, grow up with a perspective that one could learn from, as well as shape the thoughts pertaining to what life was truly like. And even in talking to a great man, my brother Safiso, you know what I'm saying? I shout him out because he's a great man, right? But nonetheless, in talking to him, just even hearing how the travel is around the continent caught me by surprise. And we'll have to do a video on about that, or if somebody has a video talking about how difficult it is to travel within the continent of Africa, let us know. Drop that link, because that information was mind-boggling, and I feel like it's also a part of the plan of separation, but that's neither here nor there. But when we have that local voice, we also have empowerment of the truth and the heart behind the country, right? You start to hear the love, you start to hear the, as we would say, patriotism. I don't know if that works internationally, but you start to hear how one feels about their country, how they're living there, their roots there have shaped their perspective of the world, right? There were some that we met in SA that had no desires of moving outside of the country, as well as there were some that thought life could be greener or better outside of the country. It was cool hearing both perspectives, because even on stateside or in the States, there are some that feel like the opportunity is here, right? Come here, be here, and you could thrive here, as well as there are some that believe, no, I can go to another country, or I should go to another country, another land to live out my best potential, or the best life that I could live. So all that to say, when we engage local voices, it allows for us to collaborate with storytellers, influencers, travel bloggers to share authentic experiences and perspectives that, give a counter act to the negative stereotypes that are seen in media, or have been seen in past media, that has then led for people to have such a harsh or a permanent thought of what the continent is really like. So let's get those voices out there. And I believe even as we did our videos and content, that was even a thought, even though it wasn't like in the forefront, it was definitely a thought that went into the content while there, because I wanted to share what life was really like. I wanted to share the beauty that was actually there, that went against, the popular, dialogue. But nonetheless, in it all, the fourth thing we could do to bring comfort is to focus on the safety and infrastructure of the continent, right? Of the countries within the continent. Because I say it that way because oftentimes people do lump Africa as one big space with border lines. Like, no, Africa is a continent that has countries within it that operate independently of the other. You know what I'm saying? So in it all, with it all, we can focus on the safety. Let's talk about safety. Let's talk about safety as we would talk about safety in states within the United States of America. Each state is different as far as safety is concerned, depending on various factors, depending on what city you're in, depending on the color of your skin, depending on how you talk, how much money you have. All those things are factors, right? And we can have those same like dialogues on the other side pertaining to the continent of Africa and other continents around the world, right? I'm sure there are those thoughts of safety. And even as it pertains to Johannesburg, safety wasn't a concern for us per se because of where we decided to live. I felt safe. I felt my family had the ability to walk through our building with safety safety. I felt like we were able to go to the grocery store with safety. Chrystle was able to drive to the spaces and places that we would frequent with safety, right? And I think those things were shown in our videos, but more than anything, as we as a people, right, start to share more and more of our stories, and you connect with other people on YouTube or social media, whatever ones you're fancy, you are able to see what safety looks like for them, what things are they're doing to make sure that safety is a thing that not only is a mental thing that sustains them, but of a physical reality that they live in, but then as well as infrastructure. Like, I couldn't speak more highly of SA as far as infrastructure is concerned. Like, the roads were nice, right? The buildings were nice. The homes were amazing. The apartments were sturdy. Like, building with brick is amazing. Like, wait, hold on. You rarely get that in the States, right? Well, every state is different. You know what I'm saying? Like, here in Florida, you build at least the first floor with cinder block, and then you can go with a wood up from there. But even as I was sharing that with my brothers and sisters in SA, they was like, wait, y'all use wood to build houses? We was like, yeah. Whereas they use brick, like red brick is on the interior of the house, not the exterior, to showboat how much money you have. But anyway, all that to say, let's talk about it, right? Have the conversation, share where safety was a concern from you, as well as where safety wasn't even a thought for you. There are spaces and places within the whole continent where that is the case. And I believe as we share more about the truths of safety, others will make the voyage over, others will make the tourism visit over, and the list goes on, which probably will make them want to make the move over too, right? Or even invest on that side, because there were so many investment opportunities that I saw, that we saw, that others even talk about that are on that side that Africa has, right? And specifically South Africa, where we were, has. And I believe that others will see it too, if only you step foot on the soil itself. So let's go to number 5, shall we? Last but not least, I believe a beautiful thing that could be done that will bloom and blossom, right? The travel side of things on the continent itself is to leverage partnerships and collaborations. Leverage partnerships and collaborations. Who are we doing these things with? We're doing these things with airlines. We're doing these things with hotels. We're doing these things with tourism companies, and the list goes on, right? Because truth be told, the people that you would fly with are flying, well, people that you would fly with internationally. Let me say that. They're flying on the continent of Africa, believe it or not. And I believe that right there says a lot. The people that you would stay with hotel wise have hotels on the continent of Africa. I believe that says a lot, right? Because at the end of the day, if money wasn't to be made on the continent itself, these hotel companies, these airline companies wouldn't find themselves on the continent itself. But at the end of the day, Delta flying over there every day to Johannesburg specifically, right? And I'm sure other countries on the continent as well, they have flights on a regular, you know what I'm saying? And the list goes on, right? I say Delta because I love Delta. I'm a Georgia boy, and Delta was born and raised in Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? So all that to say, that's why I said Delta. But the list goes on from your hotels, from your 5-star fancy ones. I don't think there was a Motel 6. But there was a Holiday Inn, you know what I'm saying? It was a Holiday Inn in Rosebank in Johannesburg. So, you know what I'm saying? All that to say, like, there's diversity of hotels that are there. And I'm saying that to say, if we were to leverage partnerships and collaborations with those hotels and those airlines, it will even give the comfort to the people that travel internationally that, oh snap, like, okay, I can travel with comfort to these spaces and places. I can have the amenities and the accommodations that I'm used to in other parts of the world on the continent of Africa. And my rewards points can still continue to pile up, and my, all the different things that people look to for the security and the comfort and making moves and vacations and travel around the world. But as we continue to have those dialogues, as we showcase what those airlines are like and those hotels are like in the various parts around the continent, it will give the comfort and the confidence to people to know I can make the visit too. I can allow for myself to do a travel destination there. Like, why not have a family reunion on the continent of Africa? Why not pick a country that your family can visit to, right? Your family can visit and be on the motherland. You know what I'm saying? No matter what color you are, at the end of the day, visiting Africa is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience. And obviously, I want it for all. However, I know only some will tap into it. I know only some will do it for various reasons. But I challenge you all, as the post was posted and it was asked of my thoughts, I challenge you all to think of the ways in which we can flip the script of giving a positive spin or a positive truth or the reality of what it's really like on the continent itself, and not allowing for the Western media or media of the past to be the dominant force behind the thoughts, right? Because it's not really the true reality, but the thought of what the continent as a whole is like. And even for those that have had negative experiences, I challenge you to be specific about your negative experience, because to say that you had a negative experience impacts the whole country or the whole city or the whole continent, I believe that's far reaching. You know what I'm saying? Even I shared a negative experience that I had, but I was very specific about it because it wasn't a generalized instance that anyone could have that represented all the police in Johannesburg. Like, no, it was just those three guys that pointed me out with this generalization. And that's just what it was. But out of it, I did give some positive feedback on what I will do next time that will allow for me not to be in that predicament, because it only happened one time. So all that to say, great people, even in the negative instances that you or me or we may have, be specific about it so that others can read what you went through to know what not to do in that specific case, in a specific place, with that specific thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of those things matter. And I believe that if we continue to educate one another and share our stories, talk to locals, collaborate with others, but more than anything, showcase what's really going on, it will shine the light that I know to be bright on the continent of Africa. And as we do so, others will see the truth. And the truth will not only set the continent free as far as tourism is concerned, but allow for us all as a people around this globe and this world to realize the truth, the beauty, and the benefit that will come as we not only visit Africa, but as we showcase the continent of Africa as she truly is, which is a gem, which is a beauty, the beginning of all, and I believe at the end of the day, like a treasure chest of resources that have yet to be untapped. And I'm not talking about resources of gold, of platinum, uranium, or the list goes on, but the people that are there that are just waiting, right, to have not some opportunity, but for others, the realization that not only where they live is a beautiful place, but it's a treasure for the world to be a part of, or to see, or to come in contact with. So, hey, at the end of the day, as y'all know, South Africa has a special place in my heart, which then leads me to feel the way I feel about the continent of Africa. And we will be back, right? We will visit again, and we will go to other countries. However, as we do so, we will showcase through content, through videos, how beautiful the country really is and how beautiful the continent is throughout, so that others will be able to see it as well. So share your thoughts, share your comments, and all those things in the comment section below. I look forward to hearing them. I look forward to seeing them. I look forward to reading them, because oftentimes I read out loud, so that's why I say hearing them. But nonetheless, in all great people, I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you for rocking with the family. And stay tuned for more content. Until next time. Peace.